Jake, I have no baseball jersey on today for the first time all season because it felt like there were no baseball games today, so it didn't really feel like I needed to, to get rolling with the gear.
Yeah.
It was a weird day with such few games. A terrible day, honestly. A terrible end to what had been a fantastic month, even with a bad Thursday for baseball in August. We're going to be up about 30 units on the A grade plays alone. So
That's unreal.
it was a fantastic month, even though Thursday was terrible. And then you have the football thing too, which, a lot of you, of course, watch the football show. I think we all kind of saw Utah scoring about 24, even without rising. They still have a decent offense. That seemed about right. I did not see Graham Mertz be respectable and Florida just struggling to score their line. I mean, in Utah, give credit to Utah's defense, right? It was a good defense, but I mean, their line was very outmatched. Their skilled players, other than that one touchdown catch, looked mostly terrible. They couldn't get the running game going. It was surprising. We really thought that Florida, usually you get a coach like Napier in year 2 at a big program taking a step forward. It's just one game, and Utah's a good team, so we don't want to overreact if you're a Florida fan. But, I mean, you kind of feel like you might overreact if you're a Florida fan because you expected to see a little bit – I'm not talking about the result. Like losing to Utah, that's fine. That's not what you overreact to. But just watching those plays, it looked a little bit concerning that Florida wasn't taking the step forward that you kind of thought they might. And that was just really surprising to me how bad they looked offensively, that Mertz actually wasn't terrible.
Yeah. I mean, you can take it one of two ways, right? You can take it the way you are with, like, man, there was no step forward, nothing like that. Or you can be a positive fan and go, hey, maybe if we let that punt go over the guy's head instead of trying to return it from the 2, we don't give up a touchdown there almost immediately. Well, an interception. Yep. We don't maybe we don't jump off sides 17 times in the red zone.
And that was the other thing, the mistakes that they made. The punt, I had kind of forgotten. And so you said that was right before the interception. The early false start that then led to a missed chip shot field goal was terrible. But then even later on, them having converted the first down, having an illegal formation. Again, that's the kind of thing that you don't expect with what you think is going to be a really good coach. A coach who did really good things at Louisiana. I guess
Mr. Everybody wear the same socks. All discipline can't get his team to not commit penalties. But
I don't know. It's one game, right? No one's going to overreact. Again, what we preach here is slow reaction, because if you overreact, you end up just chasing your tail and you end up losing left and right. So we don't want to do that. But man, I was just it was a little surprising, the mistakes that Florida made. So that was a rough one for us. So anyway, it was a rough ending. Yeah, a rough ending to our August, but a great month still overall. And it's just a good reminder that, we never have a day where we double our bankroll. Why is that? Because we preach bankroll management, 2%, 3%, 4% or so about of your bankroll on any individual place, pretty reasonable amount. And you're never going to double your bankroll overnight. But when you have a terrible night like this, you also didn't lose 2/3 of your bankroll as well, right? Yeah. So that's why we preach the bankroll management. Hopefully you're already good with that. Back to a normal slate of baseball on Friday. But Jake, I have to say, I feel like we're going to say a lot of things you said before. So I think it's going to be our running theme of the day. And we'll start that off with the Red Sox and Royals. And you know what? The model doesn't like the Royals. I feel like we've covered this ad nauseum. I don't know what else to say about it. Their offense isn't good. Their pitching isn't good. Jordan Lyles is not good. Again, a guy has, probably not quite as bad as that 6.51 ERA. It's probably a little bit inflated because the Royals at times have just kind of said, we're going to have you go eat innings. You're a veteran and you're going to protect some of our relievers who've thrown so much this year, and that's fine. But not a good pitcher. One who has maybe done a little bit better at home, maybe if you squint hard enough at it, but really not a good pitcher against the guy in James Pax. We've talked about making a nice little resurgence to his career. Not going to win the Cy Young this year, but having a very solid season, 3.99 ERA, and again, a great story based off of all the injuries he's had recently. These Red Sox relievers continue to climb my ratings. It seems like every week. Their offense still hanging around pretty good. Their defense has got a little bit better now with Trevor Story back. They haven't won every game, and they played some wild ones against the Astros, right? But this sets up to be a favorable favorable matchup for them. Here, model says they win 72% of the time. As always, it seems like the Royals are big underdogs according to the model. We are going to be on the Red Sox at -1. It's an A grade play. -155 is the implication. A couple of things to note. Remember, if you haven't heard it before, if you want to make the -1 market yourself, you bet to win something on the money line. That's what you risk on the run line. You've created -1 yourself. That way, if they win by 1, you win 1, you lose 1, the exact same market push. Some books offer the -1, so you can always make that market yourself. If you're playing either or, the A grade price on the money line, according to the model, is 217. The actual price right now, -184. So a great A play either way, huge edge. If you're looking run line, the required price according to the model, -142. Again, the Red Sox getting a little bit of a bump as the road team makes it a little bit more likely to cover the run line than the home team. I think it's about a 5% or so difference in ability to do that, if I remember correctly, from what the math says there. Current price -120. So you got a great play here, whether it's money line, run line, -1. Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, look, it's easy. Royals bad. They're bad everywhere. They're bad relievers. They're terrible offense, and the pitchers. Ugh. But I mean, the Red Sox. I feel comfortable if they get a 3-run lead. This is going to cash easy because the way the relievers are going, their pitcher Paxton is looking great. So I don't think the Royals are going to threaten them, and then the relievers are just going to come in and sweep it up. Their offense is, I feel like, it's very average. Just not great, not bad, but that doesn't matter when you're going against a minor league team like the Royals are.
Yeah, and nothing really to talk about lefty-righty splits. Red Sox offense is the low strikeout version of the Twins, I think, where they're constantly rated in this like 108-ish range. And I'm kind of like you, like both of them kind of seem average, but they both get a little bit better than average grades. It could be because average and median might be a little bit different because we've got some really bad offenses and really good offenses. So it kind of skews some of that a little bit. But both those teams get better grades than I think they probably are, but they're good enough, right? And in a situation like this, it doesn't really matter. You're picking nits if they're average, a little bit above average, whatever. They're good enough, like you said, against a guy like Lyles. Knowing you, I'm thinking you probably are going to be a little more aggressive personally, play the run line rather than the -1.
Yeah, I might even try to get 2.5 because I just don't think the Royals are trying their hardest to win right now. Like,
this fits that scenario, and it's similar to something because Jared's always talking about his thresholds for this. The projected total is 10.3, so you have a double-digit game that makes it more likely they cover 1.5, makes it more likely they cover 2.5. You could get some nice plus odds on an alternate bet like that. The current total is 9.5. I love going over 9, especially in a hitter-friendly ballpark. 9.5. I don't know. Right now, wind kind of blowing out, kind of blowing across. That's going to matter a little bit. Slightly on the warm side. Right now, a slight bump to the bats in a hitter-friendly ballpark. Want to check that weather again in the morning to see if that wind's more out or more across. That's going to shift, maybe a couple tenths of a run up or a couple tenths of a run down. But either way, you're kind of looking at a projection of 10 or 10.5. Are you lean over 9.5? Would you even touch that at all? What are your thoughts on the 9.5?
I'm not going to go over 9.5. I'd go over 9, I think, just with the push protection, but 9.5. That means me depending on the Royals to do something or just a crazy game out of the Red Sox, and I don't like banking on them for that much.
Well, if you get the crazy from the Red Sox, you're already covered if you bet -1.5, especially if you sprinkle on -2.5. So you don't need to double your bet there. Personally, and we talked about this a little bit on the Discord recently. There was a game that the model had a projection in the mid-10s, and it was 9.5. People asked me why I didn't go over, and I said, look, I don't know. I just don't like going over 9.5. That's kind of a personal thing. Should you or not? In the long run, it's probably okay if the projection's that high. It's just it's more of a tweener situation. It's more of a teach their own. It's more of a how do you handle 16 on a 10 in blackjack, right? Kind of have your personal preference. I personally just don't love going over 9.5s. Yeah. I'd be looking a little bit more at Red Sox team total or an alternate Red Sox line like that. I think they're the way to go. Doesn't mean they win. Remember, there's no locks in gambling. We'll kind of cover that again later on in the show as well with another mismatch. But the price is just not high enough on the Red Sox. People get a little too dog happy with some of these teams that are really bad, and it hasn't been working out. So we're going to back the Red Sox here in that one. Moving on to the Pirates and the Cardinals. All three of these games are in a pretty similar time slot. Two teams that, Pirates started off respectable, kind of became the team we thought they would all along. After that, Cardinals never really got it together and been a disappointment all season. Cardinals offense now I think somebody's out now because this offensive rating had been dropping, but dropping below 100 is crazy. Again, I just pull, and people always ask about how are you accounting for this injury? I don't manually do that. I pull the active rosters from the interwebs when I run the model, and so it does it for me. So I don't have to do any of that manually. The only manual thing I have to do is if a guy's announce he's going to be out that day or something, we find nothing I have to manually do. But otherwise, I just pull it in automatically. So this Cardinals offense, just going down, 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 and things just keep getting worse. Pitching wise, Pirates will have an edge with Mitch Keller versus Dakota Hudson. Slight edge to Mitch Keller on the ERA, but when you look at the underlying metrics, Mitch Keller's FIP and xFIP are both in the mid to upper threes. Dakota Hudson's around 5. And that kind of tells you there might be a pretty big mismatch here between these pitchers. Mitch Keller started off the season incredible. As of late, been a little more up and down, but still a solid pitcher. Dakota Hudson's not one to write home about. These Cardinals relievers, not very good as well. Pirates, still seem to be playing not good, but, they're still going out there trying, which is all you can ask for here. Model says that this is really a coin toss game. 51% of the time that should be minus 103. We're going to say plus 103. This is a wrong team favored game with like a little bit higher plus odds. Jake, we have a rare C grade play, and you passed up a B grade play or 2 in order to choose this one. So my question is simple to you on this one. Only a C grade small edge, but one that you wanted to highlight. So the floor is yours. Why did you want to talk about this game? Why do you like the Pirates a little bit more than the model does?
I like the pitching. I think they're between the relievers and Mitch Keller. I think that's a big difference. And I believe that Dakota Hudson there is getting extremely lucky, and the underlying statistics kind of back that up. And he's not thrown a ton of innings this year, so the ERA could be
only 49 innings.
Could really balance that out. And I mean, the Pirates have an offense at times that can really put it to you, but I'm not counting on that. I'm counting on like 1 or 2, maybe 3 runs, and the pitching kind of shut the Cardinals down because the Cardinals offense is just in free fall, it feels like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been wild to watch the Cardinals this season. If you're a Cardinals fan, obviously it's been tough. Weather-wise, nice night in St. Louis, pretty average. No real boost to hitters or pitchers. Model projects 8.6. Current total is 8.5, so a pretty spot-on total. Definitely one. I'm like you, I'd be looking to the under. I'd kind of like under a 9 at that point, though. Again, you talk about that push protection. But this does set up to be a little bit more of a lower-scoring game. Dakota Hudson's not that good, but the Pirates' offense – not impossible, but you don't really expect, especially in a park that's played interesting, in a park that's played more hitter friendly this year, but historically has been more pitcher friendly. So kind of a question mark there as to how exactly it's going to play, but a park that can play kind of pitcher friendly, the Pirates offense, like if they explode is like for 4 runs, right? They're not going to explode and get 10 most likely. So, but you're right. A big pitching mismatch here. Pirates, a solid play. Typically, what we say is, hey, with the A plays, the edge is big enough. You should probably trust it because even if I'm missing something, if the model's missing something, you probably still have a plus expected value play because the edge is so large that I've got a bunch of wiggle room. It's a smart investment. B grade plays, so we're a little bit tighter on that. I kind of tell people on the B grade plays, look it over. You should be thinking about playing maybe half of them. Kind of find the ones you like, what other sources like, whatever you like, whatever. The C grade plays, we say play them on occasion. We don't play them a ton. We haven't talked about a ton this year, but this is one, Jake, that you like. Even though it's only a C grade, I think it's worth the investment. We say 1 out of every however many C grades should be played. Sometimes it's the good teams, right? When they have that C grade, it's like the Dodgers, the Braves, or whatever, where you're like, C grade, who cares? Like, they're good. Like, we're going to back them, A little bit of a different story here in that we are focusing on this one, not because of the incredible offense, but because of the pitching mismatch between these two teams. Which takes us to our last game of the day, Blue Jays of the Rockies. And look, we've taken the Blue Jays a lot lately here. I swear last year we basically faded them. If we talked about the Blue Jays, we faded them 3 out of 4 times. This year, it's kind of the same way for a while. Been backing them a lot lately. Been working out pretty well. I think the price has finally gotten reasonable. I've been talking about that. Rockies we've been talking about, we faded a lot this year. Give them a little bit more of an edge. They get a bigger home field edge than any other team in baseball does because it's tough to play on that altitude. And they get a bigger ding on the road. They're at home here, so they're getting a bigger edge. And you know what? It still is a massive mismatch. You can see it on the screen. Blue Jays offense, even though it's not, again, what we hoped it would be, not quite healthy right now, still a solid offense, still somewhere around average or above average Rockies offense. Terrible. And if you look at the park adjusted stats, it backs this up, right? This, if you look at just the raw numbers, playing after games of course, they look okay. But you look at the park adjusted stuff, it's terrible for them all season. It's not gotten any better with them losing a guy like TJ Crone. Blue Jays going to throw Hyunjin Ryu, who probably not quite as good as that 2.25 ERA. Underlying metrics say mid upper threes. A solid pitcher. Rockies throwing Chris Flexen, who last time out or 2 times before, I can't remember which one, pitched a gem, but for the most part, not good, right? 6.94 ERA. Underlying metrics say that's not that crazy, right? Not a good pitcher. Big mismatch there. Rockies relievers aren't terrible, but the Blue Jays relievers are good as well. So again, just like we talked about before, no locks in gambling, but the Blue Jays, win this one more than they lose it by a long shot, 73% of the time. Another A-grade play. The A-grade price on the money line would be minus 230. Current price, minus 175. Strong edge. They are run line, same situation. This is one of the higher ones. You get a little bit of a bump being the road team. You get a little bit of a bump for every run above average you expect. Of course, you expect a lot of runs. So the probability, according to the model, of the Blue Jays win by exactly 1 run is only 8%. You don't see a lot of 1-run games in Coors Field. A lot smaller. Sometimes in a low-scoring game, it'll be 20%. So the run line probability is 65%. Model says the A-grade price minus 163. I love this one on the run line. My official, just how I've coded it, is minus 1. But I mean, run line price is minus 116, and that is way too short on this one. Weird things happen in Coors. The Blue Jays might lose this game. So I'd love playing better odds because with how many runs you expect in that park, if they lose, it's because baseball got weird. If they win, it's not likely to be by 1. I know you'd love it too. I love the run line here, Jake. What else you want to add to the conversation?
Yeah. There's not too much to add. I mean, it's Flexen. I mean, the guy is basically a batting practice pitcher at the moment. I know he had a pretty good game one of the last ones out, but I don't see him happening again here. It's just, the A's cut him a while ago, so it's not like he's a great talent or anything and having a bad luck year. He's just not there anymore, and the Blue Jays have the offense to absolutely take advantage of that in Coors. Can't imagine how hard that ball's going to come off Guerrero's bat, but this is going to be a very, very heavy run line for me.
Yeah, I agree. I love the run line play here. Model expects 11.5 runs. Current total's 12.5. I would not be going under 12.5. Model would lean under, but with Coors, we've talked about this. We want pretty large differentials to play something in Coors more than any other park. In a park like Petco, we talk about, especially like in May and June, that May gloom and June gloom stuff the locals talk about there in those night games. If the total's 7.5 and the model says 7.1, I'm like, under. Let's go under. I don't need a big differential. In Coors, I want a much bigger differential here. So I'm not really looking at this under here. Coors just gets, we've seen it. We saw it last week with the Braves, right? There were a couple games just went crazy. And then that last game, it's like 3-1. And it's just it's a weird park, right? You get a lot of runs on average. But any individual game, I want a really big edge. I'm not touching the total, but we still expect double-digit runs, which, as we always talk about, makes that run line a really good play. Funny enough, if you look at the reverse run line, which again I provide on Dub Club and the cheat sheet, the reverse run line numbers for this one are pretty funny because when you have a team like the Rockies, you don't expect them to win by a bunch of runs. So there's some really big numbers here. Again, no locks in gambling, but the Jays a pretty strong play. Jake. I don't know. I feel like we've talked a lot about the Royals and the Rockies and the Jays recently. It's kind of like are we just playing out the string, just like going to the hits. I feel like we got to get some new teams in here. Teams like the Brewers. I haven't talked about the Brewers in a while.
Well, it's hard to talk about the Brewers. They're a very, very good team. Don't get me wrong, but they don't score a lot of runs. So I have a hard time backing them, and especially playing some of the teams they're playing right now. It's just one of that time of year right now where the Blue Jays and the Royals, you just want to fade the Royals all the time and you want to back the Blue Jays because their schedule's working out great. It's just weird timing in the schedule.
Yeah. As we enter September, again, remember, we've kind of talked about this a little bit lately, motivation. The Padres seem like maybe one of the early teams that's just given up. We talked about them a couple of days ago, kind of saying they were probably out, but maybe there was some hope. And then I think they promptly lost back-to-back games in walk-off fashion. And it's those are the games you have to have. If you're going to make a miracle run, we've seen miracle runs happen. As an Astros fan, I'm aware of this back in 04 and 05. The team made miracle runs at the end to get into the playoffs, and you can't lose those type of games. And then here tonight against the Giants, like 4 or 5 errors already, it seems like, and we're not even halfway through the game. So you got some teams you got to be thinking about, have they given up or not? I don't think many will yet. I think that may change with the Padres. You may end up with some young guys coming up. So you just got to be a little more careful thinking about this. But September could be a very profitable month in your baseball. It was profitable for us last year. It was our best month 2 years ago. So we can still profit as long as we're just, sticking to our process, thinking about who's in the lineup, who's not, who's still got something to play for, et cetera. Can't look at that too much, but we do have to consider that in the back of our mind, especially for a team like the Padres with a bunch of veterans who Cronenworth knows he's going to be there next year. Tatis knows he's going to be there next year. Machado knows he's going to have a job next year. Right now, a lot of these guys kind of know they have jobs, and so it's a little bit of a different situation for a team like that. Unfortunately, again after what they did last year, we still have not covered the pitcher prop of the day. We've got one for you here. Again, just continue to roll on the Zach Wheeler over 17.5 outs. I don't know what to say about this one. I mean. How many is that in a row? Like 8 starts in a row, 9 starts in a row now. He's gotten 6 innings or more. I don't know.
Yeah, he's just killing it right now. He's just take full advantage of it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Like you can see it on the screen. That's why we have Outlier. He's hit this number 73% of the time. And again, just for the most part, just rocking and rolling with this. In Milwaukee, you are projected to have a pretty reasonable temperature night here, 70 degrees to start, upper 60s to close. So again, shouldn't be a fatigue issue, right? Like where we talked about, we're kind of mostly out of that season for most of these parks. You may get another hot night in Atlanta, maybe a hot one in Kansas City, but I mean, there's just not a lot now where you're talking about really worrying about hot days with pitcher fatigue. A lot in the summer when we started this, we were kind of picking more pitcher unders, trying to find the spots where we thought they might fatigue and get run early. And now it's kind of looking the other way. The weather's nicing up. The places that are still hot, most of them, Houston, Arlington, et cetera, have domes. So you're not going to have a lot of weather issues. So he should be able to continue to roll like he's been doing. I don't know. It's pretty straightforward here. So Wheeler over 17.5. Another one that I think we've been taking advantage of these. Caesars and DraftKings been offered these the night before. A bunch of these 17.5, a little bit of juice. We're paying a little bit of juice, but I mean, we're winning like 90% of them or something. So the juice is fine. A lot of these should be 18.5. 18.5 is a lot tougher of a situation, but 17.5, go ahead and jump on this as soon as you can. Hopefully the juice isn't too bad for you because we aren't going to win them all. We missed the one with, unfortunately, JP Francie tonight, but for the most part, just rocking and rolling here. Remember, if you want to see all of these good analytics, price shopping, really important to price shop, odds shop, all of these great things at Outlier.bet/professor. Get you that free 7-day trial. Check it out. I also got NFL player props, college football player props, WNBA player props, and game analytics. So all sorts of other goodies. So check it out. See if you like it. Jake, that's our show. Yep. Do you have any parting words for people heading into the weekend?
No, I'm just like, this is one of the best weekends of the year. You got an extra day off, So a lot of companies now are giving you a half day on the Friday too before the holiday. So it's just lovely with you got some baseball, you got football going on. It's just going to be a lot of fun.
We got an afternoon game tomorrow with the doubleheader.
Yeah.
So we have 16 games tomorrow in baseball. So we've got one afternoon game. It would be nice if we could, I remember college basketball doing some of those Friday games start at like 4 p.m. or something, 3 p.m. It'd be nice if on Labor Day weekend, if we could get like a college football, some like a week 0 game. Like give me Charlotte and Florida International playing at 3:30. Don't even care. I'm watching it. Give me that as an early start time.
We've talked about this a ton in basketball, like college basketball. If you're some of those smaller schools, play on off times. Get some more eyes at your guys, because you're not going to outdo the big names if you're playing at the same time. So why not throw it randomly in there?
Yeah. Anyway, great weekend ahead. Lots of sports. Again, if you haven't seen the college football episode, we got a pick for Friday. Got a bunch of picks for Saturday. Got a pick for Sunday. Got a pick for Monday. And again, all the picks, everything, all the information, anything you want. Of course, our Discord access, great community where we're a lot of good conversation, a lot of good fun conversation about the games that are happening, and a lot of good informational content about bets, things we like, things we don't like, some good discussion, good things to think about in that Discord. All of that is in Thub Club. That link is in the show description. Otherwise, everyone have a great weekend, and thank you for watching this episode of Picks with the Professor. Don't forget to subscribe so you can ensure the sports betting content provided on this channel is dropped right into your feed. We'll be back after the holiday weekend. Might have a little bit of a weirder schedule with the college football games happening later, but next week, back with baseball, back with college football, and then Jake, you and me, at some point, we're going to do NFL Week 1. That model is like hot off the press. I'm just, at this point, updating depth charts to see how the lines move. Got a lot of players questionable right now, and that's going to move things, kind of running the model for full everyone's healthy versus all the questionable. Some of the teams moved a couple of points, so that could affect some things there. So that's really all we're waiting on with that. So a bunch happening starting next week. Everyone over your Labor Day, of course, be safe. We're going to tell our daughter, make good choices, people. Always make good choices. And so that's all we've got. Again, great stuff coming next week. Jake, I'll give you the last word for the weekend.
I'm just ready for it. Let's go ahead. I just want to skip Friday. I don't want to have to go to work.
All right. Well, as always, remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.